Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. While we wait for the rest of the attendees to come in, I'll get us started. Hi, and welcome to the Building Initiative for Low Emissions Development Program, also referred to as BUILD. Our presentation today will go through how you can maximize your program incentives by taking advantage of our technology kickers. My name is Allison Whitwer, and I'm a project manager on the program team. I will be moderating today's webinar. Due to bandwidth concerns with the current weather happening in California, we will unfortunately be off camera for this webinar to avoid any glitches, so thanks for your patience. Next slide, please. This webinar is being recorded and we will share a link with the registered attendees. Questions can be added to the questions section of your Zoom application throughout the presentation. We will address questions submitted during the Q&A section at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. We have a packed agenda for you today. After some quick introductions, we will cover an overview of the program, what the incentive offerings are, and then perform a deeper dive into each one of the program kickers. Then we'll review how you can maximize your build incentives and how you can get started to receive program support. Before we move forward, I'd like to just take a moment to launch a quick poll so that we can see who is in the audience real quick. Okay, you should be able to see now. So if you're able to, please select your role. If you have a few people in the room with you, or you're a member of a project team in multiple capacities, such as you build both single and multifamily properties or projects, you can select that as well. It looks like we're getting close to 50% participation. All right, just a few more seconds. Okay. Looks like we've leveled out. All right, let me share the results. Looks like we have mostly energy consultants in the room, some multifamily developers, and then other members of project teams. Thanks so much for your time today. We really appreciate you coming to learn about our program kickers. Next slide, please. And so a few introductions. The technical assistance component of the BUILD program is implemented by the Association for Energy Affordability, TRC, and the California Housing Partnership. Our presenter today is Fallon Kudo. Fallon has over 7 years of industry experience working within multiple statewide programs. She currently leads the application assistance team, which moves projects through the BUILD program. All right, Fallon, I'll hand it over to you. All right, Fallon, you may be muted.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes.
Okay, very sorry. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Happy rainy Tuesday. My name is Fallon Kudo. I'm the BUILD TA lead for application assistance, and I'm here today to take you through the BUILD program details, incentives, and including the technology kickers. For those who attended the BUILD launch webinar, you may be familiar with some of this content. And for those who are unable to attend, the next few slides will give you a general overview of the program. Why should you participate in BUILD? Eligible applicants can receive up to $2 million in incentives for their all-electric projects to reduce the cost of construction. Applicants are eligible for 300 hours of technical assistance to help alleviate design and construction barriers and to help complete the incentive applications. Pursuing the BUILD program can help in the reduction of utility costs for both the applicant and the residents. Please refer to our BUILD program fact sheet for more information. Now let's discuss who is eligible to participate. Eligible applicants must have 5 years development experience and have at least one low-income project completed in California to meet the eligibility requirements. Next, let's dive into the world's most eligible eligible project types. Eligible projects consist of low-income residential housing, including single-family and multifamily, with income restrictions varying depending on the project's location and type of housing. The projects must be all electric, have no hookups to the gas grid. They need to be modeled based on the residential utility cost savings. This requirement is a tangible savings to the resident, typically achieved through the high building efficiencies or additional allotment of PV added to the project. Also, the project must be located within the service territory of one of the 4 gas IOUs: Southern California Gas, SoCal Gas; Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E; San Diego Gas and Electric, SDG&E, or Southwest Gas Corporation. Your next question might reasonably be, is this for new or existing residential buildings? Eligible residential buildings are those that include newly constructed, existing buildings repurposed for housing, and additions or renovations where at least 50% of the exterior weight-bearing walls have been removed or demolished. What building types are eligible? All types of residential buildings are eligible to participate in build, including single-family homes, multifamily dwellings, assisted living facilities, and farm worker housing. If you have a residential building that you think may be eligible, please bring it over and let us check it out. Build offers a new adopter design award to applicants who meet specific requirements, and we're going to discuss that next. The new adopter design award provides an eligible applicant constructing their first all-electric, low-income multifamily building with 10 or more units up to $100,000 for a design award to directly defray design costs, with the goal of affecting a developer's early decision-making in the housing development process. We will now review the 4 components of the build incentives. The 4 components of the incentive program are the base incentive, which focuses on avoided GHG emissions; the building efficiency incentive, which takes into account the percentage above code for Title 24s; the kicker incentive, which consists of additional GHG reduction technologies; and the incremental PV incentives, which are a flat rate of PV above code used to meet the program's required utility cost savings. Now let's review the incentive estimates for the program. The build program has a $2 million in total incentive cap per applicant. The GHG incentives available for eligible applicants is also known as the greenhouse gas incentive. This incentive doesn't include any of the other 3 incentives available through the program. The estimated average base GHG incentive per single family home is $5,500 and $3,300 per multifamily unit. These estimates vary depending on the size of the building, the climate zone, the system efficiency, and the building's efficiencies. The first question you probably have is, how is this all calculated? The base GHG incentive provides a flat rate of $150 per metric ton of total annual avoided GHG emissions for an all-electric building. Next, we have the building efficiency incentive. A project is eligible for up to $1,000 per bedroom based on the compliance margin as seen on the Title 24s, which is impacted by the efficiency of the building envelope and the installed systems, such as HVAC and water heating. The incremental PV incentive program requires each development to meet the resident utility savings requirement. Thus, in some cases, an additional allotment of PV may be required to help offset the cost to meet the requirement. The program incentivizes the additional PV to help offset the cost of meeting the requirement. The program provides incentives for technologies that reduce GHG emissions further, the benefits of which are not accounted for in the modeled GHG incentive. We call these incentives kickers. This slide consists of grid flexible technology kicker incentives for smart thermostats and smart appliances, which to help mediate peaks in demand and reduce demand on the electric grid. There is also incentives available for low GWP refrigerants and induction cooktops. The second half of the kickers includes heat pump clothes dryers, on-site energy storage systems, and electric vehicle supply equipment, or EV chargers, such as smart EV chargers and bidirectional chargers. for single family and multifamily projects. Now let's get into why you're all here today, the individual kicker incentives. Our first kicker incentive is the smart thermostat, which allows residents to control their heating and cooling from their phones, tablets, or other smart devices through Wi-Fi. Smart thermostats help residents save money on their bills and reduce their carbon footprint. Each additional smart thermostat installed is worth $50 in incentives. If your project installs 100 smart thermostats, that's an extra $5,000. With smart thermostats costing around $125 per unit, that gives you a 40% material cost savings on smart thermostats for the project. There are several benefits to consider when choosing smart thermostats. Smart thermostats are easy to install. They can be remotely controlled. They can help residents reduce carbon emissions. They can track your energy use, and they connect to all smart devices. Plus, they contribute to grid flexibility. We require that smart thermostat products be listed on the Energy Star website in order to be eligible for incentives. You can access the directory for more information on the Energy Star website. All kickers must have documentation proving the equipment was built in accordance with build requirements. This could include product invoices, the make and model of the equipment installed, and more. We'll review this information at the end of this section. To recap, smart thermostats optimize HVAC systems and reduce energy consumption throughout your projects. Next, let's pump it up with some heat pump water heaters. What is a JA13 compliant heat pump water heater, you ask? Let's break it down. First, we need to reference the joint appendices, JA13. This provides the qualification requirements for the heat pump water heater demand management system to meet the requirements for heat pump water heater demand flexibility compliance credit available under Title 24. The primary function of the system is to serve the user's domestic hot water needs and provide daily load shifting as applicable for the purpose of user bill reductions, maximize solar self-utilization, and grid harmonization. Each heat pump water heater installed is $500 in an additional incentives. If your project is installing 100 heat pump water heaters, that's an additional $50,000. With heat pump water heaters ranging around $1,500 per unit, that gives you a 33% savings on heat pump water heaters for the project. How does this benefit you? Let's take a look. The benefits of heat pump water heaters include reducing carbon emissions, increasing the energy efficiency of the building, increasing the energy cost savings of the project. They are easy to use and they contribute to grid flexibility during high demand or when power delivery is uncertain. In order to receive the kicker incentive, the heat pump water heater must be listed as a JA13 compliant and meet the qualification requirements. Additionally, all heat pump water heaters coming through the program, including JA13 compliant heat pump water heaters, need to be NEA Tier 3 or higher to be eligible. Just to sum it up, JA13 heat pump water heater users can visualize system data information and control their settings. Our next kicker incentives are the low GWP refrigerants. Low global warming potential, or low GWP refrigerants, are liquid refrigerants used in heat pumps to help minimize the effects of global warming. When pursuing incentives for low GWP refrigerants, keep in mind that if you install equipment such as water heaters or heat pumps, space conditioning systems that use refrigerant with a GWP less than 150, you will receive an incentive of $1,500 for every pound of refrigerant. For refrigerant with GWP above 150, less than 750, you receive an incentive of $500 per pound. What can low GWP refrigerants do for you? The benefits of low GWP refrigerants are clear. They limit the environmental impact of refrigerants being released into the atmosphere at some point in the equipment's life cycle. Now let's break down how refrigerants differ in terms of their global warming potential. Currently, the most common used refrigerants in multifamily building systems are R410A with a GWP of 2088 and R134A with a GWP of 1430. While you can absolutely use these products with those refrigerants in build projects, they are not eligible for this kicker incentive. There are also alternative refrigerants with substantially lower GWPs, from R32 at 675 all the way down to propane, CO2, and ammonia at or around 0 GWP. Products that use these or other low GWP refrigerants are eligible for this build kicker incentive. Now let's highlight a few eligible low GWP refrigerants, starting with R32 with a GWP of 675. This refrigerant is starting to be available in heat pump HVAC systems for a number of manufacturers nationwide. R513A, also with a GWP in the 600s, is available in central heat pump water heating systems. At lower GWPs and qualifying for the max kicker amount of $1,500 per pound, we have propane as a refrigerant, not as a heating fuel, and ammonia, one of the oldest refrigerants. While there is some equipment with these two refrigerants, they are not yet commonly used in multifamily buildings. But let's explore one of the most commonly used low GWP refrigerants in multifamily buildings, R744 or CO2. There are a number of existing and emerging heat pump water heater systems that use CO2 refrigerant. Such systems would qualify for this $1,500 per pound kicker incentive. For example, a small heat pump water heater shown on the chart, which could serve 1 to 4 apartments, contains 1.6 pounds of CO2 refrigerant, and so would be eligible for a kicker of $2,400 per heat pump. That is on top of all the other build incentives. Next, we have an example of a very large capacity heat pump water heater that could serve 100 to 300 apartments. Such a unit could have around 66 pounds of refrigerant, earning the project nearly $100,000 in kickers all by itself. Talk to your plumbing designer about whether a CO2 heat pump water heater might be a good fit for your project. Now let's get cooking with induction cooktops. Induction cooktops are an electromagnetic field which induces a current in the pan, creating heat to cook the food. Induction cooktops can bring you $300 per unit in additional incentives. If you install 50 induction cooktops, that is a $15,000 incentive bonus. With induction cooktops ranging around $1,500 per unit, you can save up to 20% by installing them on your project. How does this benefit your project and the residents? Energy Star states that per unit efficiency of residential induction cooking tops is about 5 to 10% more effective than conventional electric resistance units. Induction cooktops emit less heat from the cookware, are faster, have higher temperature control, they do not negatively affect indoor air quality, and they pose fewer fire and burn risks to the homeowner. Some compatible cookware include carbon steel, cast iron, magnetized stainless steel, granite ware. The bottom of the cooking vessel must be flat in order to have a magnetic base. Induction cooktops are generally more expensive than standard electric radiant cooktops, but they offer benefits to builders and residents through their high performance. The next appliance eligible for kickers is one that can literally dry the clothes on your back. I am referring to heat pump clothes dryers, which use a closed loop air stream that does not require exhaust vents. They circulate air through a condenser to absorb moisture from the clothes and then through an evaporator to eliminate it. They're eligible for $150 in additional incentives. And if installing 100 heat pump clothes dryers, you could receive $15,000 in incentives. Heat pump clothes dryers average around $750 per unit. When taking advantage of this incentive kicker, you can save up to 20% of the equipment cost. There are several benefits to installing this appliance. Heat pump clothes dryers are easy to install and they do not require venting. There are no restrictions on where you can install them within your home. They reduce energy use by at least 28% when compared to standard electric dryers. And they are gentle on your clothing using lower heating temperatures. Only Energy Star certified appliances are eligible. However, there are maintenance requirements to consider for this appliance, such as emptying the water from the unit between loads. In summary, heat pump clothes dryers utilize a closed loop airstream. They do not require exhaust vents, and the air is circulated through a condenser to absorb moisture from the clothes and then through an evaporator to eliminate it. Next, let's talk about storage systems. Not to be confused with organizing your closet, where you can now install your heat pump clothes dryer. I'm talking about on-site energy storage, which is an alternative way for you to supply energy to your projects. On-site energy storage allows you the ability to store your energy supply locally, increasing the level of control and flexibility you have over your energy is used. Because on-site energy storage doesn't have it to rely solely on the power grid, it is often paired with on-site energy generation, such as solar or PV. The incentives are calculated at $250 per kilowatt hour of storage capacity. So by installing a storage system with a 17.4 kilowatt hour capacity, you are eligible to receive up to $4,350 in incentives. There are several benefits to installing an on-site energy storage system, including saving money. The storage system can be used as a secondary resource of energy during grid outages. With smaller sizing for easy installation indoors and outdoors, they offer the residents control, reliability, and resilience when paired with renewable energy sources such as PV. They are very cost effective, and when the grid is in high demand, they help reduce costs by avoiding grid energy consumption. Products that meet the eligibility requirements for on-site energy storage must be listed on the CEC Energy Storage System list and meet JA12 compliance requirements. A recap on on-site energy storage system is that they are designed to store and discharge electricity as necessary, which can help with grid flexibility. Next, we will discuss 3 electric vehicle chargers and how they can provide residents with access to low-cost, at-home electric vehicle charging. There are 3 different levels of electric vehicle charging, which are known as level 1, level 2, and level 3 charging. Level 1 charging is what you get when you charge your vehicle from a regular wall outlet or a 120-volt charging connection. A level 2 charging is most common type of charging used in homes, and it operates on a 208 or 240-volt charging connection and can charge up to 10 times faster than a level 1. Level 3 charging is also referred to as DC or direct current supercharging. Typically, these operate on 460-volt charging connection. By installing EVC chargers, you can potentially receive $300 for multifamily unit and $200 for single family units in additional incentives. If your project is installing 30 EVCs, that is a $9,000 incentive bonus. With EVCs ranging around $750 per unit, that gives you a 40% material cost savings on EVCs for the project. How can a standard EV charger help residents save money? EV chargers provide residents with access to low-cost home-based EV charging, which eliminates tailpipe emissions and helps to improve outdoor air quality. Only charging equipment that has been certified by Energy Star or Cali VIP program is eligible for the rebate. The majority of built-in EV charging equipment for buildings is capable of providing a level 2 charge. The next electric charger is the smarter, better looking one. A smart EV charger or an intelligent charger is a charging system that can share data connection between an electric vehicle and a charging device. Electric cars connected to the grid with smart charging support each other. Without smart charging, this connection wouldn't exist and EVs could become a burden on the grid. By installing smart electric vehicle chargers, you can potentially receive $600 for multifamily and $500 for single family in additional incentives. If your project is installing 30 smart EVCs, that is an $18,000 incentive bonus. With smart EVCs ranging around $1,000 per unit, that gives you a 60% savings on smart EVCs for the project. How will the installation of smart electric vehicle chargers benefit the residents? Similar to the standard EV chargers, they're available to residents. These chargers provide low cost, at-home EV charging, eliminating tailpipe emissions, and helping to improve outdoor air quality. Only EV chargers that are Energy Star certified or Cali VIP eligible are accepted, and they must be approved via the National Recognized Testing Laboratory, or NRTL. By sharing resources between EVs and the grid, we can help reduce the strain on our infrastructure and keep our communities clean and green. Last but not least, we have the third EV charging system, a level 3 charger that can provide more power and faster charging for electric vehicles. The bidirectional electric vehicle charger is an advanced EV charger that can both charge and discharge energy from an EV battery. With unidirectional one-way EV chargers, electricity flows just from the power grid into the vehicle. But with bidirectional two-way chargers, electricity can flow both ways. By installing a bidirectional EV charger, you can potentially receive $1,000 per unit in additional incentives. If your project is installing 30 bidirectional EVCs, that's a $30,000 incentive bonus. With bidirectional EVCs ranging around $3,000 per unit, that gives you a 33% savings on bidirectional EVCs for the project. How will these benefit the residents? They provide better access to residents to personal and at-home charging by limiting tailpipe emissions and improving outdoor air quality. One of the biggest benefits to owning bidirectional charger is being able to supply your own energy to your house in case of an emergency. This eliminates the need for a backup generator. And if there's ever a power outage or emergency which impacts access to the electrical grid, you will still be able to supply power to your home. Only Energy Star certified and Cal EVIP eligible equipment is required, and they must be approved via the National Recognized Testing Laboratory, or NRTL. Also, there are not many products currently on the market. Let's review the documentation that is required for all build participants. You will need to provide copies of the following documents in order to be eligible for each of the incentive kickers. Please provide copies of the paid invoices, the purchase or installation contracts from your installer or contractor, as well as the installer's company name, address, and the contractor's license number, the site address for the project, and a brief description of the work that was performed, and most importantly, the number of units installed and the accurate make and model of each unit. Next, I would like to show everyone an example of how you can maximize your build incentives. This example project is a 53,694 square foot, low-rise multifamily building that is maximizing the program kickers. It consists of 4 3-story buildings with 56 units and is installing smart thermostats, JA13 compliant heat pump water heaters, electric induction cooktops, and EV chargers. Just a reminder that projects must meet the utility cost savings requirement for PV allocation to the tenants. Next up is a visual representation of how incentives break down. In the lighter blue top left section, we have the total incentive for GHG at $120,150. The next darker blue top right section, we have a total building efficiency incentive of $75,040. Then we have the darker green lower right section with a total incremental PV incentive of $18,408. And then we have the lighter green lower left section with a total kicker incentive at $51,200. The total overall estimated incentive for all buildings is $264,798 or $4,728 per unit. Next, we will review the breakdown of the kicker incentives for this building example. The building is installing based on the number of units, being 56 units for smart thermostats and JA13 heat pump water heaters, as well as induction cooktops. The largest incentive will come in the amount of $28,000 when installing JA13 compliant heat pump water heaters. Outside of the building, 12 EVCs will be installed, totaling $3,600. The total kicker incentive is estimated at $51,200 based on the project cost estimates, and that is far more than 1/3 of the cost of equipment that could potentially be covered by build. If you're looking to get started with the build program, here are a few tips to get you there. To access the Build website, open your browser and type in CEC Build Program into the search bar. The first link should take you to the website. Anything that relates to the program or updates will be accessible from the Build website. Build also offers several free services for applicants seeking assistance. To apply for technical assistance, please visit the Build website and complete the online application. We provide 300 free hours of assistance to help applicants learn about all electric building design and technologies, as well as support during all development phases. The TA team will also assist applicants in completing incentive applications and participate in the program's support network. To apply for technical assistance, please visit the website. Technical assistance is available throughout the entire building design and construction process and is highly recommended for all applicants. Use the Build program website to apply for technical assistance today. If you want more information about Build, stay with me for the next few slides. If you need any more information about the Build program, you can watch the overview webinar on our YouTube. To get started, all you need to do is fill out an application. The process is easy and straightforward. You can access the technical assistance and incentive applications on Build's website. Thank you for attending today's Build Kicker Incentive webinar. Next, we will address any questions you may have.
Thanks, Fallon, and thanks everyone for listening in. If you have any questions that have come up throughout the presentation, please drop them in that Q&A box that you're seeing on your screen. I do have a couple that have come in, and we do have other members of the program implementation team available to help answer. So I have some people from AEA on the line, for example, that may jump in to answer some of these questions. To get us started, I'll take the first one. The question that we received was about a project that will mostly have low income units, but there are some market rate, and the person is wondering if they can still qualify. I would encourage this person to still submit an application for technical assistance. If the majority of the units in the building are deed restricted, it should work, but we do need to take a deeper look. Generally speaking, your project will need to be mostly deed restricted, if not completely, and in a disadvantaged community, also referred to as DAC, a low-income community, or have at least 80% of the households at or below 60% AMI. Oh, good, and we're getting some more questions as well. Next question is for Nick at AEA, if Nick can unmute.
Yep, I'm here.
Great. Hey, Nick, thanks. When are the kicker incentives dispersed? Is it during those progress payments or at construction completion?
That's a great question. I actually would refer this to one of our CEC colleagues. My guess would be that it's I think it's at the end of the project, because the progress payments are based on your base greenhouse gas incentive. And so I'm pretty sure the kickers are at project completion, which would be at either TCO or certificate of occupancy. Do we have anybody from the CEC who can clarify that?
Hi, Nick. This is Camille. Yes, you are correct. Kickers are paid at the end at the step 3 project completion.
Thanks, Camille and Nick. Okay, next question. I believe this is a good one for AEA. I'm interested in the program, but my central water heater will have gas. Can I get an exception and still apply?
No, the program is only open to buildings with no gas connection. So if you have any systems that are powered with fossil fuels in your building, then it's not eligible for the program. With the possible exception of emergency generators that are required by code, that is not, because that's like a fire code requirement or sort of implicates other sections of the building code. But if you have any sort of basic standard building systems like gas heating or gas water heating inside the building, that disqualifies you from the Build program. This is a program to encourage all electric new construction.
Thanks, Nick. I have a few questions that have come in about timing for applying. So are projects under construction still eligible to apply? The answer is yes, you do need to get your application in before you receive your TCO. So, or right around that point. So if you're close to completing construction, please submit a TA application ASAP or reach out to our team and we will support you so that you can hopefully get in the program. I also have a question about the new adopter design award. I'm a first-time applicant and my building is already designed and will pursue a construction award. Is the project still eligible for the first-time applicant 100K award? I think this may be a good question for the CEC.
I'm so sorry, Allison. Could you repeat the question for me?
Yeah, sorry, I should have led with directing
No
it at you.
worries, no worries at all.
The question is, for a first-time applicant and a building that's already designed that's pursuing a construction award, can they still get the new adopter design award?
Basically, what you're looking, the cutoff for that is whether or not they have a building permit. So if they have a building permit for that project that's all electric, then you're no longer eligible for a new adopter award.
Okay. Thanks, Camille. If there's any follow-up questions, just submit them in the Q&A box and we'll get to that.
You bet. Absolutely.
Thanks. This is probably another CEC question, maybe AEA. So who or what is considered an applicant? Each project we own will have a unique limited partnership owner. If we apply as the LP owner for each project, I just want to confirm that the $2 million cap per applicant wouldn't be triggered for multiple projects.
I can give the sort of layperson's answer, and then CEC, this is Nick with AEA, and then maybe CEC can clarify if I oversimplify anything. The applicant is whatever entity will have continuing control over the building. So the LPs are created for the purpose of development, but it's ultimately like the developer organization that will maintain control of the building after construction. And so if a developer, the $2 million cap per applicant or per developer, if it only applied to the LPs, would be effectively meaningless because there's a different LP for every project. So it does apply to the developer organization as a whole, even if there is a different LP for each development.
Thanks, Nick. All right, a few questions left, and please do continue to submit them if any come up. Does the program have tankless electric water heater installs as an alternative option?
So the program doesn't explicitly prohibit tankless electric water heaters in certain applications. However, it's going to be very hard to meet the program requirements for bill savings and for overall, it's going to be hard to meet your Title 24 compliance just purely with tankless electric water heaters in any application other than maybe like a common area restroom in a multifamily building, because they're so much lower efficiency than a heat pump water heater. So I don't think that they're strictly prohibited by the program, but you're going to have a hard time meeting the program requirements with a tankless electric water heater.
Thanks, Nick. Here's a question, I think for AEA as well. For greenhouse gas and energy savings above code, what simulation tools must be used to document the savings?
The same compliance software you use for code compliance in California. So your energy consultant or your whoever's doing your Title 24 modeling, that same energy model is what is used to calculate the energy and greenhouse gas emissions requirements for the program. The good news is that the program technical assistance team can help you with those, not with your Title 24 compliance model, but with getting the sort of GHG savings required to understand program qualification. So as long as you have a model, the program TA team can sort of take it from there and do the things we'd need to do with the model outputs to be able to determine your incentive levels and your GHG savings and things like that. So once you get enrolled in the TA process, you basically send your model and that and accompanying documentation to the TA team, and we run it through the program calculators to get your incentives and other things.
Thanks, Nick. Someone had missed one of our answers from before about fossil fuels in a project. If gas heating is used for a pool in a project, can you qualify if the buildings are all electric?
No.
Okay. Here's, I think this was a follow-up question on the kicker incentive payment disbursement or related to it. So this may be another CEC question. For past applications.
Sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
Going back to the pool, I'll say no, but also if you think about the amount of the incentive for an entire property, if your property would qualify for build, if not for your gas pool heater, you could probably find a way to replace it with a heat pump pool heater. They make them, they're out there. And if you think about the entire build incentive as paying for the switch from a gas pool heater to a heat pump pool heater, like it could probably cover that. So we would encourage all projects, even if you have plans to put in gas water heating or have plans to put in gas pool heating, to apply for technical assistance. So we can talk with you about what it might take to get your project over the line to actually go all electric. So really we want those projects that still have one gas end use in the building, or maybe two, and are curious about how you might go all electric on that project. Even if you think it's going to be too complicated or too expensive for your particular project, like let's talk about it. We are here to help find solutions for these projects. So if you've got that one gas end use in your project or even a couple, and you're interested in what it might take to get that project all electric, submit an application for technical assistance so we can start talking to you. Maybe we find that, you know, it's not feasible for that project, but you get information that helps you make the switch to all electric on your next project. So we'd really encourage everyone, even folks with mixed fuel projects where you do still have some gas in the project, to still apply for technical assistance. You can get technical assistance even for projects that aren't yet all electric, to help us look at what would it take to get the project all electric.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, great note. And there's up to 300 hours of technical assistance available at no cost to project teams. So we, like Nick said, we encourage you to take advantage. And someone did just ask if the technical assistance is free. And yes, it certainly is, up to 300 hours. All right, so I have two questions about applications. I think this might be best for CEC. How long does it take to get to the point of providing documentation for the kicker incentives? Can you provide some examples of how long some other projects have taken to hear back and receive the incentive?
Well, I can talk about it. This is Camille with the Build program, and I can talk about it in terms of the timelines for the different steps in our application. So you have a timeline for when you submit in the design, step one design, and then a different timeline for when you submit for step two, which is construction. So for step one design, you have 18 months, and for step two, construction, you have 36 months. There are extensions that are available if need be for those. But after those timelines expire, the project expects that you will be in step three, which is the completion step. And it is at step three that you provide the information that we need to be able to reimburse for kickers.
Thanks, Camille.
Does that help?
Yeah, if there's any follow-up questions, just let us know.
Please, yes.
Another question about the applications is there an application deadline? I think that's a good one for you, Camille.
The actual time that the project sunsets is 2033. So we have time in between there, but the more important timeline, and the reason that we encourage people to apply early earlier than that is that we do have funding caps pursuant to the IOU territories, funding percentages pursuant to the IOU territories. So we will be able to accept applications for reservation for incentives up until those caps are hit. So I can't give you a hard stop other than obviously when the program sunsets. But more importantly, as funds are encumbered via various reservations, we may hit a total cap for that IOU territory.
Thanks, Camille. And after applying, how long does it usually take to hear back from Build?
I can't get it. It really depends on the project complexity. And I know that sounds like a non-answer and I apologize, but when applications are taken on a first come first served basis based on when we receive them electronically through our data submission portal. So we do the processing of applications on a first come first served basis. But projects that have many models and are very large take us more time than a more simplified project. So the application times vary depending on the traffic that we have and depending on the complexity. We like to get these things turned around within 30 days if we can, but it really just, there's a lot of variables that are also at play.
Thanks, Camille. Next question, I think is best for AEA. Is there a website like Energy Smart that shows what units are best or qualifying refrigerants? I think they may have meant Energy Star.
Yeah, there you can find information about refrigerants on the Energy Star website. You're also welcome. I would encourage you, if you have that kind of question, to apply for TA. And while we may not to list manufacturers by name in this webinar, if you apply for TA, I'd be happy to talk to you and point you to some resources about equipment that might qualify for the kickers.
Thanks, Nick. I do only have one question left. So if you've been listening and waiting for a question that's been on your mind to be asked and it hasn't yet, please be sure to submit while we go through this next one. Nick, I think this is another question for you. Can a cooktop module that's part of a modular interior kit qualify for the cooktop kicker? And we can assume it's induction, I've been told.
This might be a CEC question. I think the idea was that it would be like a piece of equipment that is installed as opposed to just a countertop, sort of that a sort of an appliance that sits on top of the countertop and could very well be removed. I mean, obviously a slide-in stove could be removed because it's just plugged into the wall. You can remove it and put something else in there, but it is sort of installed. I'm using air quotes, you can't see them. It's installed in a sort of more of a real way than sort of just a countertop sort of induction hob that sits on top of a counter and plugs into a 120 volt outlet. I don't know, CEC, do you all have anything to add on that?
I suspect that would be, Erica, please go right ahead.
Sorry, no problem. But induction permanent fixtures, so Nick, you're right. This does include slide-in ranges.
But I think the question is like, where is the line? Like so a slide-in range would qualify, but like if something is countertop, it would need to be like installed in the countertop, not the kind that can be sort of moved around and easily sort of taken away out of the building.
Yeah, not like a portable one.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, that's the extent of the questions that have come in so far. Just give it one more second while I thank everyone again for your time. We greatly appreciate you joining us today. And like we said, if you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, submit a TA application. Happy to support you even further. And once we close this webinar, there will be a really brief 2-question survey that will pop up asking if you're interested in receiving a follow-up from our team about any of your projects, or if you would like to be added to our program's mailing list. So if you are interested in either of those things, please be sure to state that in the quick survey that will pop up. Have a nice day, everyone.